When Aboriginals and Europeans first encountered each other, two different cultures came in contact. Aboriginals were hunters and gatherers, and Europeans' focus was controlling nature and Christianizing the world. Europeans wanted the land and believed Aboriginals were not using it. Cultural equality was not accepted. Aboriginal people were still considered in a state of savagery. Aboriginal people needed to be first civilized and then educated in the Christian way of life. Missionaries joined forces with the government to rectify this matter. With the British North American Act of 1867, the Canadian government was given the power over the Aboriginal people, and then with the Indian Act, the power of Aboriginal education. This education was separated from the mainstream society, and residential schools were developed. This was the main focus for the assimilation of the Aboriginal people. Christianity was enforced, and names and clothing were changed, hair had to be cut, their culture was completely altered. They were not allowed to speak their language or perform any ceremonies. The Aboriginal people were to be civilized, and to do this was to deculturalize them. Jackie Timothy went to residential school at 4 years old.
My colonial name is Jackie Timothy. My native name is Maksama. I was told that as a child, I always drew. I always created something. I always had the gift of vision. I could see art. I could see the joy in life of the animals, hummingbirds, different crows, eagles. And I was taken away to the residential school when I was 4.5. My brothers and sisters were there, but the priests and the brothers and the nuns kept us separate. We weren't allowed to see our family. I was there for 3 years. Before I went to the residential school, I spoke Ayajutham, it was called, or the old language. I didn't know how to say in English, "Please may I go to the bathroom? I need pee." This was in kindergarten or grade 1. And I got up to go to the bathroom and felt it wasn't necessary to ask permission to go. When my relatives said, "Hey, what are you doing? Sit down. Be still, you can't go anywhere." The nun turned around and says, "What's going on there?" And I guess I really didn't. I said, "Hostam go what shoot slochom shmutero." I said, "I'm going to the bathroom, I need pee." "What?" she says. "What?" she screamed, and she grabbed my hand. And she took this ruler out and started hitting my hand. I remember that scar, and everything sort of disappears from then, but I have plenty of scars. It was a prison, and in the prisons you have to survive. The food was really terrible. There was times when some other so-called dignitaries would come from the Department of Indian Affairs or the government, and they would have their dinners, and they would have these incredible meals. Seriously, they had incredible meals, and they had us younger Indians serve them almost like trained monkeys kind of thing. And I could not believe what they were eating. It smelled so good, and it was just like the food was incredible compared to what we had. I didn't see my family until I was 7 or 8 years old. There's a few times, and I'm sure it's the same to everybody, that that there's flashbacks of being in a residential school. For me, it was you smell the body odor of some of the priests that were there, the pervertedness that they had, the smell of a white man. I was one of the first Native students to go to an all-white school in North Vancouver. being a part of the residential school, my grades were at a certain point that they figured that I would adjust into that system easily.
Where did you stay?
I was put in foster homes.
How many foster homes?
3. I went back to see some of the elders or the family that was there, and they said to me, "Hi, how you doing? It's really nice to see you." I said in English, "Fine, thank you. I'm fine, thank you." He said, "What? What's the matter with you? You're speaking the white man's language. Speak our language. You're okay, or you're safe." And I said, "That's what I do now." And I guess they got together and they thought, well, if we speak to him in our language, he'll have to speak our language. And if he doesn't speak our language, we won't talk to him. So there's rejection there. So you go to a residential school and you get rejected. Yeah, and then you go back home and then you speak the language of which you were beaten into, English, and they don't like that. So you're shunned by your own people. Being a part of the residential school there, they said, you'll never be anything but a Dominion. For me, carving was, I seen that from my grandparents, my grandfather. He was a canoe builder. Actually, he was a carver, fantastic canoe builder. They couldn't build the traditional double-ended or double-ended traditional canoe styles that you see on the canoe journeys these days. But they only allowed to build functional canoes. And my grandfather's canoe was probably 22, maybe, it was pretty big. So when he did carve it with such pride and such, and built them really, really nice. And he told me that I was going to be a carver one day. And at that time I didn't understand, but now I do understand. What had happened back then was that the carving, the arts, and the culture of the songs and dances were forbidden. And a lot of the carvers back then were put into jails. They put them in there for 6 months, and sometimes they misbehaved, they'd be there longer. Because I was a part of the Catholicism that I went through at the residential school, this is symbolizing the Pope, I guess you might say, with the headpiece that they have, and this is actually a rough mock-up of it's not unfinished piece. This is what this piece is going to be once it's done. It's in its very beginning rough stages. And what's going to happen here with this is going to be a transformation mask. It's going to transform, open up. In the very center here, you'll see this facial figure in the center is actually the evil, or the devil as it is called. And you see the kind of look, he's got a smirk on his face. But on the inside here, what I'm going to be painting is the birth of like a little child, a baby being born. And then how the colonialism has taken away the children and destroyed the culture, the disease blankets that they sent in, the sick priests that come in, the sexual abuse, the physical abuse, the mental abuse. And here is an adult survivor of the same child, and coming through to finding the culture again, getting back to healing, getting back in the way of forgiveness, and to be as a whole person. So by the time you get down to here, or down into this section here, this person is a whole person and well-centered in the center of life, like we used to be. Because that's who we are, we do survive. I carve in order to leave behind an existence of my people and myself. As an elder once spoke to me just recently, he said the new consciousness is here. The new consciousness of being indigenous, or the new consciousness of life is here.
The Truth and Reconciliation Commission has been tasked with facilitating healing in Aboriginal communities and with residential school survivors.
He is a commanding presence. And if this was all there was to him, I wouldn't know what to do. He also has a very lively sense of humor and a very deep, tender heart. It's my honor to welcome him to the stage this morning. Mr. Justice Marie St. Clair, Chair of the Truth and Reconciliation